Hello, everyone. My name is Bernice, and this is my podcast, Speak Up. Shout out to my new listeners out there. For those of you that don't know, the mission statement for this podcast is we'll use our voices to motivate people to overcome life challenges through self love and respect. So, this is a place for self love and respect. I'm so happy about tonight's episode. I have a really, really amazing guest with a good friend of mine. She's the ish, she poppin', and she bomb. Y'all give it up for founder of Education is Key, your girl Nico. Hey, girl.
Hey, boo, look at you.
Look at you, look, you popping.
Yes, I love it. Love the intro video, everything. Stop playing.
Look, gotta deliver. Look, let me do your welcome. Yes, I've been waiting. Look, we've been trying to get this convo going for a minute. I'm happy it's finally happening.
Yes, y'all. We've been trying. We finally made it. We here. So
we gonna we're gonna get it done. So, on this show, I really aim to make impact, and you were perfect for this. So, like, I'm just excited to hear more about your story and things like that, and for you to inspire others with your words on here. So, let's get it. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
yes. So my name is Nico. I am from Los Angeles. Born and raised. I went to college. I was the first in my family to go to college. So I am a first generation college graduate from UC Santa Barbara. I got my degree in communications. I call myself an entertainer with a purpose because I am an entertainer. I do media, hosting, MC, acting, producing, on air, on camera personality, all of the above. But I'm also the founder of my nonprofit, Education is Key. So, I've been doing that since 2019, fundraising money for scholarships for inner city students of Los Angeles. Now we also have mentorship programming. We've been doing our annual community events, and we're always collaborating and teaming up with other organizations and businesses and just like-minded individuals, out here and just creating impact every year. So we raised over 80,000. We've given over 70 scholarships. We've mentored up to 10, 10 teens, young adults so far. So we're still growing. This is still counting. So that means, we'll be still raising more, giving out more, and working with more students. So yeah, so I'm just, a little LA girl, just all about impact, living for a bigger picture, and just, staying grateful, having an attitude of gratitude to just share, share a light, that can just be positive and just be uplifting. In this crazy world we live in, this crazy society that we have to operate in daily that is just so draining.
Tell me about it.
Like, girl, so I'm like, my social battery, like, it's 7 o'clock right now. I'm kind of down right now. My battery is low, but we here, and like I said, I'm grateful. But that's just a little bit about me. So I'll stop rambling. I know we still got more to talk about.
Girl, you good, you good. I love it. And yes, y'all, she out here making an impact. Everywhere I see her, she got her keys, she ready,
Yes.
and she down for the students. I've been to a few of her events, and I love just seeing everything grow. So I'll be seeing you with the pink key. So where did the term education is key come from? Like, where did you say I'm gonna name it this?
Yeah, what's funny is that because I remember I went home, I had a conversation with a mentor. We were talking about, me having my nonprofit because it's something I thought about when I was in college. And so that conversation came up years later after college, after making a name for myself as a host. And, he just suggested that I go home, like, really think about it. Just think about the name, thinking about the brand and all that good stuff. So I'm sitting in my bed and I'm like, all right, I'm on my computer. I'm Googling stuff just to get some inspo. And education is key was one of the first ones that came up, but I felt like it was cliche or like corny. Like I was just like, I feel like I could come up with something a little bit cooler. Like we could do better. But it was just like out of filtering through all the options I was coming up with, education is key ended up being one that I felt like, okay, it sticks, it's simple. I feel like it was familiar enough to the public, like, to the average person to where it's like that shouldn't be hard for, my audience to grasp or remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just thinking about like, logos, like just certain brand assets to where I'm like, okay, if the name is education is key, okay, I could play off of the keyword. Like at the time, we had DJ Khaled with the major key alert, like that whole thing was going on at the time. So I was just like, oh, I could play around with that with it. Like, like is key, like something being key was the thing. So yeah, so it was just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go with that one. We're gonna make it work, and I'm gonna have a big old key that I'm gonna carry around. Like that's gonna be my marketing, symbol. And so yeah, so it was just thinking and just seeing what I felt like could work and what I could expand on. And so education is key happened to be the one.
And it definitely sticks. I remember I went to one of your events and you gave out keys, and I have it on my keychain
Yeah.
still. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, that's because you were real one, because that was the first year of fundraising and giving out scholarships, and we had the award ceremony, the scholarship award ceremony. So you were real one for coming out to that. And I remember we was at a middle school. I can't think of the name, but it was in I want to say it was in Inglewood. And I remember that idea. I still have some. It's put up in some box somewhere, but it's like still a little box of those pink keys that I spray painted.
Yeah.
I had a whole bunch of little keys, and I just spray painted them pink. And I was like, oh, I want people to take a little key home with them. I love that.
Yeah, it's on my keychain. So, yep, y'all, they can stick it.
Yes.
That's good. That and so you mentioned entertainment, hosting. So, what made you pick up a microphone and was like, I'm into this too? And what advice would you give to someone who wants to like get more into entertainment and hosting and put themselves in the spotlight?
Yeah, well, I would say it was one of those things that like entertainment or being an entertainer, it's just been in me. Like, I've been an outgoing person. I've been like there's always been something that I've had, like, like that it thing, like, she's got it. Like, I've always had that in me. It wasn't nothing nobody ever had to train me up for. Like, it just is what it is. And crazy enough too, my grandmother, who I would say education is key, is also in remembrance of. But she was an entertainer, and she was a writer, a producer, an actress, a singer, and she also was a workers' rights activist. And so I remember as a little kid, being around her, and I remember being at her rehearsals. I remember watching her plays. Used to want to be in the plays, but I was too young at the time. So yeah, I guess that I feel like something from her has been, sprinkled into me. And I just been a natural at it. When I was in elementary school, I remember my 5th grade year, I ran for class president. And so shout out to my mama. She was actually the one that had me do it. I wasn't even thinking about doing it, but I did it and I won. And then it was like, I'm doing public speaking, speaking in front of my student body, doing speeches and stuff like that. So it started there. And then like I always wanted to be, at the time I used to want to be an actress. I used to want to be a famous actress. I just want the center of attention. I want to be on camera. Put me on camera. I wanted to be in commercials. I remember my mom used to take me to auditions. So it's just always been there. And growing up, like I always knew, I'm like, I need to be like, on the scene. I need my name in lights. Like I need to be performing. I'm not a sit at the desk type of girl. Like I'm not a, an office girl. That's not me. Like I'm an entertainer. Like I want to speak. I want to dance. I want to laugh. Like, I want to entertain. So it's just something that's been in me for real. And, here we are.
And it goes so good with your brand too, like the two put together. So I love that.
Yeah.
So, you just mentioned your social battery being low and stuff. So, being as busy as you are with different events, how do you make time for yourself?
Girl, anytime that I get, I'm okay. Like, I definitely take things easy every day. Like, I just be floating. Like I used to be in a type of like frequency where it was just like I gotta do this, I gotta be here, I gotta do this, and it was just like, okay, now I'm getting older, I'm getting a little bit more wiser, and I'm just seeing that, sometimes you end up in a hamster wheel, and it's like being busy all like that's that's not necessarily the determining factor of being successful or, you know, or getting things done just because you're busy. You know, I feel like you gotta like also kind of just be smart a little bit and be smart with your time. And so now, you know, I'm like, I try and get my rest. I try to make sure, you know, I'm not just up, you know, watching TV until the wee hour of the night. Like, nah, like get that sleep, like turn this stuff off, lay down, you know, shut down, like put the phone down and just sit down, you know, and just be in your thoughts sometimes, you know, just do nothing. On the weekends, if I'm not booked for anything, you know, I'm literally in the house, like comfortably in this house, in this living room, or, you know, like let me spend some time with family, you know, and get that time to kind of just re-energize me, keep me grounded. You know, like that's one of my key things, like spending time with family and friends. That definitely keeps me grounded and kind of keeps me at ease, you know, to where I'm not just so overwhelmed and taken up and consumed by work, and my future and what I'm building and things like that. So yeah, girl, anytime I can get, if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours, if it's 24 hours, I'm taking it, and it's either coming with a nap, binge watching one of my guilty pleasure shows.
Yes.
Or going to find somewhere to eat, whether it's takeout or sitting down. I'm gonna go eat something good, like, you know, and just flow. Like I'm not gonna stress nothing.
Look, and it's showing in your skin, okay, glowing. So yes, we're gonna roll with
it. Baby, you know, we are doing something right now with this.
Yes, and she look like that in person, y'all. Yes, glowing. So
period. Thank you, sis. So we look like how we look on camera. Okay,
that's the flex. I love it. Yes. Here we go. So you guys, tonight's episode is titled "Start Here." So we're talking about the importance of using what you got to make an impact. So let's get into the actual question of the night. For those of you listening out there, please comment your answer to the question. I always go back and read the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and answer the question first, and I'm gonna let you answer, Nico. So tonight's actual question is: what does starting with what you got mean to you? I think starting what you got means believing in what you got, and you know I say that because sometimes you kind of have to have faith to start with less and know that it's gonna turn into more. You know, I think it's all about mindset. Like we can look at it like, dang, I need this, and this. Or I can say, oh, I have this. What can I do with this to make this become more? Whether it is you utilizing your community, utilizing the resources that you do have, doing those little things. It starts with some type of faith in yourself and your ability to do so. So that's my view of it. But what about you, girlie? What is starting what you got mean to you?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was well said. That is exactly like my same sentiments. I'll add to that though, just so I can kind of give more, not repeat, because I'm like literally like you had it on spot of what I was thinking.
Thank you.
But yes, but also it also is, you know, working outside of your ego. You know, putting that ego to the side, not worrying too much about perfecting or, you know, just being so caught up on the results and more so just focusing on the work, just doing it and letting the rest come together, you know, as it's supposed to. So that's what I'll probably add to that is, you know, also just working outside of your ego.
I'm glad you say ego, because sometimes our ego gets in the way of a lot of things, and that pride too. So I love that you said sometimes you got to put that aside and admit what it is and do what you got to do.
Yes.
So y'all, let's talk about in honor of education is key and everything. So let's talk about the power of starting with what you got to make an impact. You know, it's deep. I think it goes even further than just starting what you got. Let's make an impact with what we got. You know, when you use what you got, you could create more. And I think the beautiful thing about impact is it don't even take money. I think sometimes it's just numbers, it's people, it's those one or two people you inspire. Because sometimes you actually might put the juice into someone else to make the impact actually. So it could be that too, the idea, you know, and I think it's further because, you know, when we think of impact, we just think of like, so some people might just think of like a famous celebrity donating to a charity or something like that. But there's other ways to make impact in your daily day. Well, if that makes sense, your daily day. But yeah.
No,
I have a question, sir. So for education is key. What does starting with what you got look like?
Yeah, so starting with what I have looked like what's crazy is I legit had an answer, and it just really just skipped from me because I was tuned into what you were saying. I'm like, I really want that answer to come back because it was a good one. It was a good one. Starting with what I have looks like, you know what, okay, I'm gonna just go back to just trusting, just, you know, having faith and confidence and having a vision that, you know, I truly believe in, and just not making excuses, you know, and just being okay with starting small, but knowing like, you know, greater is definitely gonna come. But also understanding like that's what it is. Starting with what I have is also part of like character building. I feel like it's necessary, like it's like a necessary training, you know, because what you're in store for when it comes to starting something and growing something of your own, you know, like bringing a thought to life, it is it is a journey. This is really not easy, quick, overnight microwave type of work. And so I feel like when you start with what you have, and if that looks like starting small, it definitely puts some kind of battery in your back to withstand and sustain like in this journey, because it's not going to be quick and easy. Like it's not just going to fall, you know, in your lap. It ain't just going, it don't always, I wouldn't say it can't, because, you know, things can happen, you know, miracles do happen, you know, so I won't discount that. But for the majority, you know, the main expectation is that, like, you know, you're gonna have to dig yourself out of some holes. You're gonna have some obstacles to overcome. And I feel like when you start small and just be grounded, and again working outside of your ego, that process I feel like is more easier to get through, and I feel like it's more likely for you to work through, and not throwing in the towel, or, you know, talking yourself out of it because you think just because this one thing didn't work out that it's not meant to be, and that you're not supposed to do it, because Lord forbid, you know, there's work to be done. Like you have to put in work. Like, you know, that's just the journey, you know, and that looks like either having to not overcompensate, but, you know, having to get creative and, you know, do the most with what little you have, you know, working smart and not hard, you know, because some things, it don't take too much. Sometimes it don't take too much. Sometimes we overthink it, and it ain't even that hard. It don't even have to be that hard. Like, you know, so that's really what I wanted to get at, is just like, yeah, working with what I have looks like character building.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And that was, I'll cut you off.
No, you good. Go ahead.
And that was a beautiful answer, because one of the things that stood out to me that you said was, you know, not making excuses. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in that, like what we don't have, that we kind of be at a pause, versus, like you said, going through the character building of getting what we want or growing as a person. I always say this to people: if you were to start something right now and, like, let's say it blew up overnight, you wouldn't really be ready to take on the responsibility of it. Like, let's say if you want to do a concert, if you don't know how to perform in front of 10 people, how you gonna perform in front of thousands? And I think, you know, like you said, that character building, that prepares us for those next things. If we want to manifest more money, can you handle $100? How you gonna handle $1 million?
Exactly. You get it.
I think that even with this podcast, I'm like, when I first started, I wouldn't have been able to talk in front of a certain amount of people, or, you know, do media events or things like that. But the many things that built it helped prepare me for those bigger stages that come along. So I love that. Yeah, that was a beautiful answer. Yeah, we definitely use that as a clip. So, you know, consistency is going to take that growth. So, in your opinion, this is for your own personal answer. What does impact mean to you personally?
Impact means, yeah, just uplifting, you know, a positive feeling or action, you know, that can be received from someone else. And just like what you mentioned, you know, impact doesn't necessarily always have to mean something revolving money, you know, and that's why I even mentioned before, like, you know, me being a light, like wanting to be a light to where I can transfer, you know, some encouraging and positive, impactful energy that can touch somebody and just plant something in their spirit to carry on for the rest of the day. You know, maybe simple as that. Like maybe somebody was feeling down and just discouraged and didn't even see themselves, you know, finishing the rest of their day. You know, like they just ready to give up right there and stop right there. But I feel like, you know, having a genuine light spirit that can transfer, to those around them, can also just go a long way, or just as long as the impact of giving somebody some money. But sometimes it could go even further. Just certain advice that you may give, a compliment that you may give, a message that you may share that resonates with somebody that you don't even know, where it's like, for them it could be a confirmation from God, to where it's like, wow, like, I've been looking for some kind of answer and it came through this person, and now that probably has set them up to overcome a great obstacle. So, so impact to me looks like just positive and positive spirits, a bright light, that creates just, uplift, encouragement, and forward progress.
Forward progress. I like that. That was a beautiful answer to that question. But you guys, it is now time for the tweet up segment. So y'all know I like to be on Twitter, X, whatever they want to call it.
Right.
Something that I tweeted that goes with tonight's episode is quality of impact isn't always defined by numbers. So yeah, like we were just saying, impact doesn't have to be huge. Sometimes it's about touching lives in general. Your impact could create a domino effect. And I think that's the beautiful thing. Like you said, you probably planted that seed in somebody and made somebody want to do something. I'm gonna be real. I love going to panels personally. That's like my favorite thing to do. I'm a big firm believer of I'm a student first. I don't care how great I get at whatever I do. I'm a student first, and you could always learn and be inspired, or like give information to somebody else of something that you learned at something else to somebody. And I think that's the beautiful thing about knowledge and wisdom. So today, yeah, right. It's quality over quantity around here. Yes, quality over quantity around here. So, a question: what's the domino effect that you would like education is key to cause?
A domino effect that I would like education is key to cause is just, forward progress, success for, I say the following generations, but even the previous generations, because my organization is not just for the youth and for the young, it's for the community, it's for all ages, because education doesn't just stop in the classroom, it doesn't stop when you graduate. Like, you learn every day. Every single day, there's something to learn, no matter what age you are. And so I just would like to see a domino effect of more college graduates, more business owners, more, career leading individuals, more sustainable lifestyles for, families to set themselves up, to just be financially free, to be free through education. They say education is the number one solution to poverty. So yeah, just a domino effect of forward and upward progress for our people, closing that gap for those that are underserved, and being able to get them on the other side, because also, as we know, we're growing into a world where there will not be a middle class anymore. It's either you got it or you don't. And so I need us on the side of we got it.
We got it.
I need that domino effect. Okay. So yeah, just progress, success, and happiness.
It's already doing it. It's already doing that domino effect as we speak. So I love it. You guys, it is now time for the life up segment. So the life up is when I take the topic and I relate it to a problem in today's world. So tonight's life up is thinking that everything has to be perfect to start something, being afraid of your own potential, being too prideful to ask for help when it comes to your vision, and then allowing challenges to make you forget why you started in the first place. So these are big ones that go with starting what you got. We kind of already touched up on it, but y'all, ain't no perfect time. I'm going to say that right now. Ain't no perfect time. I don't care what you waiting for, because there's always something we're battling. It's something in a chapter of life we're kind of dealing with. Yep. And it's like, if you don't start, and I think, I think the biggest lie that's told to us with social media is that, like, once you start, boom, like everything's gonna, you finna go viral.
Exactly. No, it's it.
And I think, that's we have to stop getting brainwashed into thinking that, because I feel like as soon as some type of adversity kicks in, when you start what you got, you're more likely to quit, because you're like, oh, I didn't sign up for this part, but it's all a part of it. So And let's not be afraid of our own potential. Like, let's listen to that vision. Like, I love how you, Nico, you stood up on that vision that you had, and look where it's came now. Like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like, if
Right.
you can look back, like, wow.
It's a testament. It is a testament. Like, yeah, it's been a journey, and I feel like a lot of things that we already talked about just really just stamps the point that we're making to even just these certain segments that you have, because like we mentioned, working on what you have, what that look like, and how we talked about that just being a part of character building, and being able to see how you can juggle the little before you can get the surplus. So yeah, like you right on point. It's no perfect time, because listen, like life does not stop at a certain age. As long as you are living, as long as you are living and you get your next 24 and your next 24, your next 24, that means that you're on time. You're still in the running. You're still
You're on time for your own journey. Like, even being in my 30s, I'm loving my 30s. All that, when you turn 30, it's too. No, I think things is really starting. If you think about it, like, and it's kind of a funny story. One of my coworkers, she had went to the Blast concert that you were on stage for, and I was like, that's the homegirl. Like, I'm at work, and you know what I mean. They remembered you being on stage, but you see how impact is just growing. Like.
Exactly.
Rooms and things like that. So let's just like pat ourselves on the back for how far we did come, and let's not forget why we started in the first place. And I think that'll help us when things do like start to get hard. So I have a more serious question. So sometimes things are out of our direct control. So with everything going on in politics, with like education funding cuts, things like that, what's your favorite way to keep students that you work with excited about furthering their education?
So, I mean, my favorite way really is just, still campaigning and just, expressing the importance of being educated, and also pushing the message that education goes beyond the classroom. So, where education is key, that's another thing that we push. And that's another reason why it's just like, it goes beyond scholarships. Like, education is key is bigger than scholarships. And so it's like, reminding students that, like you said, you're never too late. If you got your 24, you're still in the race. Like, you're still good. You're in position. You can continue to, pick up where you left off to be educated. If you didn't finish in school, you can go back and get your GED. You can go to that library. You can go to that internet. Like, you go to that phone, and there are certain things that you can do to still make sure that you get whatever education that you need to pursue, whatever it is that you want to pursue, whether that be starting a business, raising a family, getting a house, getting that job, pursuing that career, like whatever it is that you want to do, you still need to be reminded that education is key, because you don't just because you grown now and you out of school, it don't mean that you just gonna know everything from then on out. You're gonna have to still continue, to seek that information, retain it, and apply it. So, so still just campaigning and pushing that message and making sure they understand, like, education is key. Like, I don't know how, like, it's like I can't say
everywhere.
It's very key, and and it's the solution, or it's the answer to your success. Like, that's, in order for you to be successful, you have to be educated. And again, it ain't just only, in classrooms. And that's why we get scholarships to students that are attending vocational school, trade school, or programs where they are still enhancing and expanding their education or their skill in something that they're learning, to bring them closer to some kind of success, in whatever it is that they want to do in life. So yeah, so pushing the message still,
Hey, and it's heard loud and clear. I went to UC Santa Cruz, and I must say, being out of school, I've learned way more about life. Okay, so you're right. Education.
Because I was one of them students that thought, like, oh yeah, after I graduate, it's up. Like, I'm doing like all this work that I'm doing in school. That's it. Like, the work is done because I did it. I graduated. I do it. No, baby, you still got work to do after that. You gotta keep those habits that you had in school. Keep them habits and continue to apply them after school, because that's another thing that I feel like students kind of miss when it comes to going to school, where you feel like, oh, why am I going here? Like, when am I going to use this in my daily life? Like, why does this matter? Because now they're on social media and just thinking like, all I got to do is just be on camera and record myself eating or getting ready today or this and that, like, in order to be successful. And it's like, even that's a skill. Even that's something that you have to be educated about with learning how to be an influencer. Yeah, like you don't just go viral. Like that's a one-off. If you go viral off the, just off the rip, like, luckily, but for the most part, like that is strategic, work that they do, that they have to learn about the algorithm. They have to learn about, just certain things that they have to do in order to grow that demand to be successful online. But it's just like, yeah, when you go to school, showing up on time, like that's a skill to keep, because when you get a job, you need to be showing up on time. You got to be in that habit, getting that homework, doing that work, just all of those things, like, getting into this responsible habit definitely is beneficial for after school too, outside of learning, but habits that you build, discipline, obedience that you build from, a school system is also worth using and entertaining for your future success too.
That's some bars right there. I want to say, even if you end up having kids, that multitasking that comes with it.
You gotta show up for your kids. You gotta just be on like some kind of time clock and be like, you can't be lazy and just be living. When it comes to having a job or raising a family, you got to have some kind of discipline. And so it's like, you better catch it while you're getting it in school, because that's discipline right there.
Literally.
There, if you're doing it right.
You're telling no lies. I love how you really are motivating the youth with that. So
yeah, like,
on here for that, because it's a lot. I know
it is. Thank you. And then also too, being able to be in positions to be on platforms like this, talking to, podcasts and, media personalities, or tapping into artists and celebrities and things like that, to just also get that cosign, from those those platforms or those individuals that kids normally tune into, and want to listen to, because, it's fun, it's entertaining, but it's like those same people, like, I need to get them to co-sign that this is important so y'all can listen. Like, it's all fun and games, but all of this stuff is work. All of this stuff, even entertainment, it's work. It ain't just
all that.
Yeah, like, you can't just do it. I mean, you can, but it's like, if you want some real results that you're looking for, you gotta do the work.
Do the work. Look, I love that. We ain't running from the work around here. So you guys, how do we fix this? So going back to the Life Up segment, realize that nothing will ever be perfect. The mistakes and rejection are a part of the journey, and write your why down. So those are big things. So let's go ahead and get into the drink up segment. Ooh, if you out there listening, please drink some water. Oh my goodness, I needed that. And I have a water fact for tonight. Tonight's water fact is: drinking water can improve one's brain health by simply increasing blood flow and oxygen to the brain, which in turn improves concentration and cognition, if I said that right, and helps balance moods and emotions, reducing stress and headaches, according to Women's Brain Health Initiative. Drink some water. It's so good for you, okay? Education. I'm educating y'all on some water, okay? We need it. Let's keep this glowing skin we both got. Look, we're going to drink some water, y'all. Now back into the episode. So I want to say, y'all, don't underestimate the power of community. And, and there's power in genuine connections, like you were just mentioning. Like you said, networking, talking to people, that's a skill. Being obedient, showing up for others, that's a skill. Being reliable, all those things go together when you're building anything. You started a business or you are trying to be in entertainment. It takes those genuine connections to even go somewhere on that. So what's the networking tip that has helped you on your journey?
A networking tip that has helped me is you got to nurture your relationships. It's not enough to just get the number, and lock that in and send a text to say, hey, this is me. Like, you need to follow up. You need to, like, don't be the person that's always asking for something either. Like, be an asset to the connection too. Like, bring something to the table. And whether that be just checking in on somebody, just to check in. Always whenever you reach out, you don't want to be always reaching out asking for something. Like, like sometimes you want to just check in and just send some positive encouragement, encouraging energy, see if they need something. Because a lot of times I've learned, like, when you serve, like when you offer or, serve as an asset, like that inclines, the other person to want to help you. Because it's like, okay, like, first of all, a lot of times those people that you network up with, they're always the person that's being asked of something. Like, that's what they're used to. Like somebody, they need something. Like that's all I'm getting hit up for. So it's like when you be the one to stand out and call and actually offer to help, like some kind of help that they probably don't even really need or necessarily want, but it's just the action, like the act, that goes a long way. So definitely nurturing those relationships and being more than just a transaction. Don't be so transactional with your relationships. You want to just actually be genuine with them, and take care of them and serve too, not just receive, but be able to offer something,
Beautiful answer. And going off of advice still, what's a piece of advice you would give to a person who wants to start their own nonprofit?
The advice that I would give, well, you know what? It's the main advice I would give. Start it yourself. Don't pay nobody to do it. You do not need to pay nobody to start your nonprofit.
Okay.
I don't want to say scammed out of it, but I say that to say when I was starting my nonprofit, I was a little lazy, but I also was intimidated by the process because of what I've been told. And so I was seeking, I was outsourcing, others to do it for me, and I was getting a certain cost. Good thing that I was cheap back then. Like I was just like, I don't know if I want to pay that for that. So, it delayed my start in paying somebody, but then I ended up running into Skip Townsend, who was somebody in LA who has his nonprofit. I believe it's Second Call Wolfpack, something like that, or the Second Call. But he was somebody that actually was the one to tell me, like, don't pay nobody to do this. You can do it yourself. These are the steps. You start here, talk to them, and boo boo bop. And then so I took those notes and I actually did apply them, and I learned like, oh yeah, like I saved a lot of money and a lot of time by doing it myself. Was it tedious? Did it take time? Yes, it definitely did, but it was worth it because I got my stuff done within under 4 months, and for way less than what people was, charging me for them to do it for me. So that's my main tip. If you want to start your own nonprofit, you start your own nonprofit. Don't pay nobody to do it. Save your money, save your time, but be ready for the tedious work. And we already talked about this. You got to do the work. Like that's just what comes with the territory. Like you can't shortcut this stuff. So you can do it. Don't be intimidated by it. I'll go ahead and start you off right now. You start with the Secretary of State. Okay. You could go to the Ronald Reagan building. I believe they should be open now because I went before COVID. I started in 2019, so that's right before COVID. So it was open. Don't know what happened since, but if it's still open, you can go to the Ronald Reagan building in LA. But anyways, if not, go online to Secretary of State website. You also want to go to the Franchise Tax Board. Just Google it, Franchise Tax Board. And you also want to work with the IRS to be tax exempt. So those are the 3 departments that you will be working closely with in this process. And you start with the Secretary of State. And what I recommend is that you call that 800 number or whatever that number is, sit on that hold and talk to that rep, and you let them know, I'm starting my nonprofit. I don't know nothing about this process. I need help. What do I need to do? That rep gonna tell you, and just carry on from there. And keep on calling them reps. That's how I got it done. I was always talking to the reps and saying, okay, I did this. What do I do next? Okay, I did that for now. What do I do next? And I was taking them notes that they was giving me, the instructions, and I got it done. So that's the tip I will leave you with.
Woo! What an answer right there. Y'all hope y'all taking notes. And it goes with the episode of allowing yourself to be educated. See how you took the time to get educated and you applied it. And it's like, now you passing the knowledge to us.
Yes.
So let's start. Look, and you started with what you got. You was like, I'm not afraid to ask this rep for help. And I'm learning.
Oh, it's all just connected. The interview, we just connected the dots. I love that.
Yeah. They'll shoot a plug. I love it.
Yeah, for real.
Yes, that was a good. Oh, that was great, y'all. Look, it is now time for the show up. So if you're out there listening, please comment. How did you show up for yourself this week? I will go ahead and answer. How did I show up for myself this week? I showed up for myself this week by giving a lot of things to God. And I say that because I do that, but this time I really did it. And, I think it's easy to say, I gave it to God, but then we still be like, no, God been having me in this surrender state right now. And I was trying to fight it at first, like, because I'm always trying to figure things out. That's how I work. I can't sit still. God's making me sit still and figure it and surrender to his plan. So that's kind of how I showed up for myself this week. By praising God is showing up for myself and, letting God work in his plans. So, Nico, how did you show up for yourself this week?
Oh, man, let go and let God, sis.
Yeah, literally.
I did that a little while ago. That's why I just told you. I just be flowing, bro. It's peaceful here because one thing life gonna do is life is gonna life. So don't you dare stress about it. Don't need to stress about it because that's just life.
Yes.
But I love that. And again, I'm gonna piggyback again because you definitely be on the same page as me.
I love it.
And I will add to that by saying, prioritizing some healthy habits. That's how I've showed up for myself this week. I'm working on getting back to working out more consistently. I haven't stopped completely, but I also have slowed down. So I'm just picking back up on my healthy habit of, get up, work out, and just some health and wellness, practicing some good health and wellness, some good discipline for things, to do more things that serve me, better serve me. So.
I love it. And you definitely showed up for yourself with that. So where do you see education is key in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see education is key, just topping the numbers of the previous years, as we normally do. So, I see education is key. We got millions. We got millions, raised, and we're giving out hundreds of thousands to millions in scholarships and mentorship assistance, just more relief support, more partnerships in the city, having our own, resource hub location, brick and mortar, whatever you want to call it. And just being an even greater staple in Los Angeles for us, by us, a lot more scholar recipients, actually being a part of education is key. So not only getting scholarships, but even being able to come back and serve with us, I see education is key, providing, job opportunities. And I just see growth. I see just continuous growth. So I named some specific stuff, some general stuff, but ultimately, I see what God, that's what I see. What God has in store for me is what I see.
Yes, I love that. And I love to ask all my guests a fun question. So your fun question is, which celebrity would you love to see doing a video drop holding the education is key?
Ah, that's a good question.
Yes.
That is a good question. Dang. I mean, who do I see? Who do I see?
Whole Nick, shouting you out, shouting the key, everything out, and they got that key on the video, and it's big video.
I'm gonna be a little teeny bopper with this one, but I would love to see Chris Brown shouting me out.
Okay, go ahead. I can see that.
I want to see my boy Chris Breezy shouting me out. Because I feel rest in peace. If Nipsey was still alive, that's definitely who I would want, to be doing the drop 100%. That's my
phenomenal answers. Okay.
That's who I want to see. Dang, that would be beautiful.
Chris Brown, you listening? Come on, Chris Brown, listen and get the key.
Matter of fact, I would love for Chris, to go on tour and donate to education is key.
Have you come out with the key, right?
We're gonna put it out there. Let's sprinkle that on out there. Donate to education is key. Yeah.
I can see you dancing with your key, doing the moves with the key.
That's why I'm like Chris Brown, because I'm just that's lit. You could do a dance move with all of that. He's a fun guy. Well, I mean, I don't know him personally, but he's a fun guy, We're
going to put it out there. It is now time for the wrap-up segment. So how does this relate to self-love? Self-love is believing in yourself enough, loving yourself enough to believe in yourself, to start with what you got, to know that you're gonna take that, God gonna take that and turn it into your vision. So that's how I see it. So Nico, how do you practice self-love?
I practice self-love by getting my rest.
Mm-hmm.
By just my confidence, being intentional about my mindset, and about how I see myself, how I see, my life. So I guess that really goes into a lot of like my attitude of gratitude, showing self-love through gratitude. And yeah, just honoring better habits for myself, like also just being mindful of that, where I'm not just going through life, just flowing with no intention or no direction, but more so like, okay, if I'm a flow and I'm a surrender, we're going to go about it in a nice, healthy way, in a way that serves me and serves my best interests. And then also by, just doing what I want. And when I say do what I want, it's like, you ever want to do something, but you kind of talk yourself out of it because, you just make an excuse but it's like, no, I'm not talking myself out of, going for what I want. I'm not doing that no more. I'm not making no excuse, for it either. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go and get it. If I want it, I'm going to get it. So,
Point blank period.
If I want it for myself, I'm gonna get it for myself. I'm not gonna depend on nobody to bring my happiness. Like, I'm gonna make myself happy.
Yeah. That's huge. And final question: what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for just being a ball of light. Light and love. Like, like, wow, like Neekko just was cool. Like, I had no issues with her. Like, she just was always just a powerhouse, like a light powerhouse that just, touched me positively. Like, just, remember for positivity. Like, just love and positivity. Like, it's all love. Like, no drama, no smoke.
Yes.
Love. Like, that's all I'm here for. Good time.
Good time. I love that. I must say you are a ray of light in the room that you walk in. So yes.
Thank you.
That. And remember, you guys, what you got can be enough. And starting is better than regretting not starting. So let's get out of our head. I don't have this. I don't have that. At least try. Let's try and just see what happens, and then go from there. So that's what it is. But I appreciate you, girl, coming on here, spreading awareness to your nonprofit, sharing a little more about your story, and the last, and dropping gems and inspiration. Before we go, can you shout your information out? Where can people donate?
I sure will. Thank you, boo. Thank you for having me, by the way, and thank you for supporting continuously. Like I said, it's years on this. But yeah, you guys could follow me on Instagram at Your Girl Neekko. Your Girl spelled as it's supposed to be spelled. Neekko is spelled Neekko. You can also follow my nonprofit on Instagram at Education is Key. But you just gonna have to do some underscores. So _education _is_key_. So there's that. But you can donate and support and learn more about Education is Key at www.eduiskey.org. So you can contact us on there, donate, read up on some information, follow our social media. And if you see me in LA, if you see the big pink key, holla at your girl. Send a donation. It could be $1. It all counts. Or $100.
We're taking it all.
I'll take it all.
Take all payment types too.
Email me if y'all want to request a specific payment type, because I do take Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, cash, check, Apple Pay, Venmo. So it's other ways. If you don't want to donate on my website, I got other ways that I accept payment.
There we go.
Donation receipt so you can write it off. Don't forget, I am tax exempt, so you can write these donations off when you support Education is Key.
Look, make sure y'all tap in with her. Tap in with her wonderful page and make sure y'all donate. It's a beautiful nonprofit with an amazing cause. So I appreciate y'all tapping into this wonderful episode of Speak Up JV. I will be back next Thursday with another episode. Make sure y'all follow at Speak Up JV. My personal is at Vernisa. And y'all know, and tell y'all friends about Speak Up JV. Y'all know what's up.
Yes,
But
tell your friends.
love you, Nico, girl. Thanks for coming on. Woo!
We love you.
Mwah. Make sure y'all tap in, y'all. Bye.
Bye.